Hello, Bobby Torres of Frightbox Recording here. So the question is, are you recording your guitar tracks at home using amp sims? If you are, you're gonna wanna pay attention and learn the important, crucial lesson that I share in this tutorial. Let's dive in. So before we dive into today's tutorial, I just want to let you know that if you're into recording hard rock or metal out of your home studio, we live in the absolute best time in human history due to these amazing tools called MIDI drums and amp sims. The issue that I see over and over and over again is that everyone seems to be making the same exact mistakes when using these tools, and it's preventing us from putting out our music and having our music sound professional in the first place. And because of this, I've put together a simple, straightforward PDF guide called the MIDI Drums and Amp Sims Production Checklist. The checklist highlights all of the mistakes that so many of us make so you can avoid making these mistakes and get right to producing killer sounding music with the tools that you currently have. The MIDI Drums and Amp Sims Production Checklist is absolutely free right now, and you can have instant access by clicking the link below in this video's description. So what I want to share in this tutorial is a common mistake that I see over and over and over again when clients send me tracks to mix that they recorded out of their home studios, specifically when using amp sims during the recording process. And what the mistake is, in a nutshell, is people not paying attention to the level that they're recording their guitars at when tracking guitars at home, specifically when recording, again, through an amp sim. So the question is, why is this important? Well, you're gonna hear clear as day why this is important in this tutorial, and I'm gonna share with you how you get around it, and it's extremely simple. And believe me, you don't wanna skip this crucial step when recording guitars. It can mess up your entire production if done wrong. Okay, so to demonstrate this point, I'm gonna play back two simple audio samples, and then I'm gonna dive deep and showcase what's going on within each of them and what you should be paying attention to when tracking your guitars through an amp sim into your DAW. Let's listen to audio sample number one. Let's check out audio sample number two. Now, if you notice, you probably can't hear much of a difference between these two versions of the exact same guitar performance. And therein lies the problem, again, that I see all of the time. And unfortunately, I sometimes have to turn work away when people send me tracks like this, DI tracks. Now, if we look at the DI tracks in the first example, you can see that they're very dynamic, right? Nothing is squashed. You can see all of the transients and the pick attack completely clear. And this is because these guitars were tracked through an interface at the proper level. The question is, what's the proper level? I get this question a lot. It's simple, not clipping. That's it. Just making sure that when you're tracking, you're not actually digitally clipping on the way into your interface. What ends up happening is people get so hung up on their guitar tone and their amp sims that they'll digitally clip and not actually hear it because they're monitoring exclusively through their amp sim. So while they're tracking, this will be going on. As you can see, we have clipping on the way in, we have the red light indicator going off, and their DI tracks will end up looking like this. And the tricky thing is when you're playing through a lot of gain, it's sometimes not that apparent. So just to drive this point home, let's listen to the original guitars that were tracked properly in solo. And now let's listen to the guitars that were clipping on the way in. Again, not a huge difference. The first tracks sound a little clearer, a little tighter, but overall, not a night and day difference. But now let's go to our tracks and mute all of our inserts so we get rid of the amp sim and any EQ and compression that we have going on. And let's hear what these DI tracks actually sound like on their own. This is where the issues will become apparent. So here are the DI tracks that were tracked properly. Super clean, and it does not take any fancy skill to achieve this result. All you have to do is make sure you're not clipping on the way into your interface. It's better to record your guitars with the signal coming in too quiet than too loud, because when something is digitally clipped, especially extreme digital clipping, the tracks are useless. And now let's hear the tracks that were recorded incorrectly, i.e. way too hot. So as you can hear, they sound fuzzy, squashed, and like crap. Now this is bad for two primary reasons. Number one, it's hard to edit your guitars when you can't see any transient information on the original DI tracks. The second reason is that it severely limits you from using any other tone than the one that you're currently tracking through. So if I wanted to maybe use a cleaner tone or maybe a clean tone blended in with my original guitar sound, I can't with these tracks because they're so heavily clipped and there's distortion present on the actual DI tracks. So for example, if I want to maybe start this tone from scratch and maybe go for like a dirtier, grittier kind of guitar tone instead of a straight up metal tone. Let's hear what this low gain, gritty tone sounds like on the properly recorded guitar tracks, and then I'll switch over and play what they sound like on the incorrectly clipped guitar tracks. So as you can hear, that is a massive, massive difference. And it's the exact same guitar, the exact same amp sim, the exact same EQ, the exact same settings. It's simply that the second set of guitar tracks were recorded improperly. And again, I wouldn't be making this video if I didn't see it all the time, and I see it all of the time. As guitar players, we're so guilty of obsessing over tone that we don't pay attention to the fundamentals when recording out of our home studios. So to wrap up this video, let's play the properly recorded guitar tracks being played through a free amp sim. Right here, I'm using the Amped Roots by ML Sound Lab. It is a great amp sim. It's absolutely free. I highly recommend checking it out. And to be honest with you, it's really all you need. Now let's hear it in context of the rest of the mix once more. And there you have it. That is the mistake that I absolutely want you to avoid when recording through amp sims in your home studio. So I'd love to know your opinion. Is this something that you're guilty of? When you dive back into your sessions and bypass your amp sims, are your DIs heavily clipped? Again, it's something I see all of the time, and some people aren't even aware of it. I've had to refuse entire album mixes because when I dive into the multi-track, the DIs are so heavily clipped because whoever was recording the guitars weren't paying attention to the actual source and the level coming in to their interface. Beware of this mistake, avoid it. It's easy to avoid. Just record at the proper level, i.e. not clipping. And also don't forget to download your free MIDI drums and amp sims production checklist so you can avoid making these common mistakes that so many of us make and get right to producing professional sounding music with the MIDI drums and amp sims, even if they're free, that you're currently using. Again, the MIDI drums and amp sims production checklist is absolutely free right now, and you could have direct access by clicking the link below in this video's description. If you found this video helpful, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to click that little bell icon so you can be notified every single time I upload a brand new video on metal and rock production. And until next time, happy recording.